righty. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Oviedo City Council meeting. It is Monday, August 17th, a little bit after 6:30 p.m. 4 members of council are present this evening. Deputy Mayor Drago is absent tonight. If everybody can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Colbert, why don't you lead us in the pledge tonight?
All right, sir. Go ahead, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Chief White. How are you tonight, Chief?
Good, Mayor. Thank you.
Keeping busy with all this weather?
We have been very busy.
Keeping Oviedo ER busy with all this weather?
Yes, us and others are keeping Oviedo ER very busy. If you'd like to join me in a word of prayer, please do so at this time. Father God, we thank you for the rain that you've sent to our community, Lord, and we pray for the protection of our families, our students, as school gets re-engaged, for our teachers. Pray for some successful and healthy and careful sporting activities. And Lord, we thank you so much for the CFR hospital that resides in our community. We look forward to this project as it comes to fruition for each of us and what it offers our town. Father God, we pray for all of the family and friends of Richard Addicks from our local resident and historian. Pray that you just give them great comfort at this difficult time. We lift this up in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Chief. As always. Okay, moving right along, we have no ceremonial items tonight. Our first action item is the approval of the minutes for August 3rd, 2015. I'd like to entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, call the vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along to item number 3, it's the public comment portion of our meeting. I have one written request this evening, and this is from Colonel Shiflett.
Kind of get them in quick enough. My name is James Shiflett, 1954 Crystal Downs Court, Twin Rivers. Coming at the request of the homeowners meeting we had, which is on Oviedo in the Park. We have moved our venue down to that every Thursday night, once a month.
Terrific.
So it's very good down there, and it's very nice. As we get these out, the question came up, and there was a lot of active discussion between homeowners about maintenance of light poles. These are not the lights out, but these are the conditions of the light poles, and they've noticed that some of them had been painted recently. There was confusion in terms of who has the responsibility, so we said, okay, I'll get you an answer. So I prepared these charts to get an answer and to carry back to the homeowners so that they could get the right information. The first question is, who is responsible for the repainting, and what are the standards that would indicate repainting are particularly necessary? If you go to the second chart, I took some pictures. Instead of people just complaining about stuff, I said, send me some pictures. So what they did is they sent me some ugly pictures. Those are on the right of chart 2. Those are along O'Connor Drive, one of the main areas. After I got 3 pictures, I said I don't need any more. And then I took a picture this morning on Bob and our walk every morning and took a picture of a newly replaced one. It is very nice. They have made changes to it. They're black, and they moved the plate a little bit so it's much easier, so the new pole is nice. If you'll go to chart 3, which is the last chart, what we really want to know is we know how to replace, call in for, light replacements. You get the tag, you go into the city, you fill out the form, you go through it. I don't think you want to basically us to go out and turn in 500 ugly poles because that would probably not be, but we will be basically agreeable to whatever when we figure out whatever the system is, to solicit input from people saying, because not all the poles are in the same condition, and I think that would be useful if we could kind of participate in something that would be useful. And does the city want our help in terms of identifying which ones are better or not? And I think I've got most of the answer. Talk to Bobby. I'll send him an email with these charts, and then we'll go based on what Bobby tells us. Any questions for me?
You can also report the light outages right on Duke's website.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, Colonel?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to address the council on any item on our agenda this evening? Hearing none, I'm going to close public comment and move on to the consent agenda, items 4 through 11. What is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion a second. Councilman Henkin, anything?
No, sir.
Councilman Britton?
Nope.
Councilman Schenk?
I'm good, sir.
You're good? All right, I have no questions either. All in favor of the motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving along to our first and only public hearing tonight, it is item number 12. It is ordinance number 1626, Land Development Code rewrite. This time, Mr. Colbert, if you could read ordinance number 1626 by title only, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is entitled an ordinance of the City of Oviedo, Florida, amending the Land Development Code of the City of Oviedo, specifically Land Development Code Articles 1, Preamble, Article 2, Administration, Article 3, Development Agreements, Orders and Permits, Article 4, Zoning Districts and Regulations, Article 6, Downtown Mixed-Use Regulations relating to application processes, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for a savings provision, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and the correction of scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Colbert. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed Land Development Code amendments were prepared based on input from the City Council during several work sessions. This is the second of 2 required public hearings that the City Council must conduct. Your first public hearing was conducted on August the 3rd, 2015. City Council then scheduled the public hearing for tonight, but also directed staff to make one change to the amendments, and that was to transfer the appeal duties of the proposed hearing officer from the hearing officer to the City Council. Those changes have been incorporated into the ordinance. It's recommended tonight that you conduct your second public hearing and adopt ordinance number 1626.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. As Mr. Cobb stated, this is the second public hearing. I will open that portion of the hearing up now. Is there anybody who would like to address council? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing portion and move on to the pleasure of council.
So, Mayor, make a motion to adopt ordinance number 1626.
Second.
Motion second. Councilman Schenk, you have the floor.
Again, like last time, thanks to staff for listening and putting together and capturing very well what we had talked about at our multiple work sessions, et cetera. Appreciate it.
Councilman Schenk? Henkin, excuse me.
Nope, just ties everything up, streamlines it. Thank you, staff. I know it's a lot harder than what it looks on paper, but
Councilman Britton?
Looks good. The paint is dry.
That it is. Should I throw some more brush strokes on it or just leave it alone? We're good? All right, we'll leave it alone. Anything else from anybody?
Not the end of the land development code.
No,
right?
it's just the
living-
beginning.
Exactly.
It's a living document, that's for sure. Mr. Cobb, anything else for us on this?
No, sir.
All righty. That being said, I will call the question. Motion on the table is to adopt ordinance number 1626. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see. Moving along, we have first readings. We have none. We do have one resolution this evening. It's resolution number 3029-15. Mr. Cobb, can you enlighten us, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request for the City Council to approve a non-statutory development agreement and the associated master land use plan for the HCA Medical Center. The subject property consists of approximately 47.83 acres. It's located on the north side of Red Bud Lake Road, the west side of West Broadway Street, and the east side of State Route 417. The subject property has 2 future land use designations in commercial and plan unit development. It also has 2 zoning districts in commercial C2 and plan unit development. The non-statutory development agreement includes development standards, and the proposed development is depicted upon the master land use plan. The staff verified that the master land use plan properly reflects the standards of the Land Development Code and those provided within the non-statutory development agreement. The city attorney reviewed the non-statutory development agreement, and his input has been incorporated by the applicant. The applicant has also addressed the staff's comments as well. The proposed development is to construct a 267,000 square feet of hospital, proposing 250 beds plus or minus, and approximately 200,000 square feet of other permissible uses that could be from medical offices to other types of retail. The proposed development is to be divided into three phases that are outlined within the non-statutory development agreement. The project will have two existing access points. One has two existing access points, one on Redbud Lake Road and one on Broadway. And then there's also a third proposed access to the north to connect to Mall Boulevard. The maximum height of the hospital building will be 100 feet, with the rest of the buildings reaching a maximum height of 60 feet. Architectural features can extend to a height of 20 feet higher, so it would be 120 feet on the hospital and 80 feet on the other proposed buildings. The project shall be allowed one freestanding monument sign at each entrance from a public right-of-way and one at the intersection of Redbud Lake Road and State Route 426 to identify the overall medical center. The medical center monument sign shall be allowed a maximum 84 square feet of copy area and a maximum height of 12 feet. 20% of the signage will be allowed as changeable copy, which is consistent with the Land Development Code. The Development Review Committee considered the non-statutory development agreement and the Master Land Use Plan at its July 16th, 2015 meeting and recommended adoption of the agreement and the plan with some changes. The applicant has addressed those. The Planning, Zoning, and Appeals Board also considered the non-statutory development agreement and the Master Land Use Plan at its July 28th, 2015 meeting, and thereat recommended adoption of the agreement and the plan. It is recommended that the City Council adopt Resolution Number 3029-15.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Is the applicant present? Yes, they are. Name and address for the record, Mr. Such.
Peter Such, CPH Incorporated, 500 West Fulton Street, Sanford, Florida. Thank you very much. This is very excited to be here before you tonight on the end of what has been a long entitlement journey for the hospital. And if I may just briefly recap a little bit of that, just to recall all the time that has collectively been spent with the city as well as HCA in getting to where we are tonight. Back in 2005, if you may recall, HCA bought the first, made their first investment in the city of Oviedo with 27 acres of what effectively was the old Duda Homestead property, as well as the 3.5 acres adjacent to 426. If I could have the aerial up as the next slide, please. At that time, the future land use designation and the zoning for the property was not appropriate for a hospital. So in 2011, HCA moved forward with changing the comprehensive plan of the initial 27 acres to commercial, which is what's necessary for the development of a hospital and medical campus. In 2011, that was followed up with a rezoning to C2, again to make it consistent with the comprehensive plan. And at that time, HCA also bought 15 acres of land, which is the part of the PUD portion of the property, which is on the west side, the old borrow pit, as well as the stormwater areas to the north of that, to increase their land holdings. In 2013, HCA invested further and bought 6.25 acres north of Slavia Point Road, the old Blackwood parcel. And that went ahead and is located in between the PUD property and the properties remaining to the east. At that same year, 2013, HCA made the commitment to build a freestanding ER, which would ultimately prove to be the first phase of the hospital. But built that in 2013, and on June 6th of 2014, which was a banner day, that was the actual time that HCA received its certificate of need to be able to build a hospital in Oviedo. After much work by many in this room and others in Tallahassee. They actually got the approval. And that actually started a clock ticking for them, because with the approval of the certificate of need, there's an 18-month time period by which HCA actually has to get construction underway and have meet certain milestones in construction. So with that, HCA acquired and compiled a team of professionals to then move forward with entitlement of the property, proper entitlement, in order to build the full hospital development and medical campus, as well as the first phase of engineering and architectural work that was necessary. In January of this year, we took that next step and changed the Blackwood parcel, which was industrial, to a commercial future land use designation and zoning. And just as of actually last month, Council just approved vacation of Slavia Point Road, which was the right-of-way actually bisecting the Blackwood parcel from the balance of the main campus, now making one uninterrupted piece of property that could be used to develop a cohesive campus. So we're here before you tonight with a non-statutory development agreement and master development plan. And in order to build a development program, as Mr. Cobb had summarized. And the reasons that we ended up moving forward with a non-statutory development agreement in part was again, to get the proper entitlements to build this type of comprehensive medical campus. Certain height limitations within the code required some additional approval, which is included in the non-statutory development agreement, as well as the use of the PUD property for stormwater retention. As was mentioned, that PUD piece of property is actually located in the Oviedo Marketplace PUD and DRI. After we coordinated with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council and city staff, it was determined that the hospital could utilize that land for retention and open space. However, it brings with it no development, no entitlements to actually build any structure. So within that PUD portion of the property, it can only remain as stormwater and open space. And we're also going to hopefully use it for some floodplain compensation. But it'll be a tremendous asset to the campus and an amenity, ultimately, to full build-out of the campus. Also within the NSDA addresses the extension of the on-site perimeter road north to Oviedo Mall Boulevard, which, as we all know, was really the missing link to complete traffic circulation within the development. And as of last month, the adjacent property owner, as you well know, had dedicated that missing length. So now there's actually a right-of-way connection from Oviedo Mall Boulevard to the northern end of the medical campus, which within the NSDA now actually obligates HCA, upon notification that that has been completed, which we understand that has been sent in for recording and has been recorded, and the actual plat book and page for that document will be received back at any time, that HCA is actually obligated to design and permit the extension of that roadway north to Oviedo Mall Boulevard, and they have certain construction requirements to complete that roadway within a time certain in the development agreement. Furthermore, the development agreement also addresses HCA's participation in a traffic signal at the intersection of Oviedo Mall Boulevard and the access road to the campus when it's so warranted. That's a brief summary of the highlights of the NSDA. I am joined tonight by Wendy Brandon, who's Chief Executive Officer of Central Florida Regional Hospital, as well as Teresa Nardentonia, who's the Chief Nursing Officer. We also have Albert Bustamante, who's counsel with Baker Hostetler, as well as representatives from Littlejohn, Stephanie Shealy and George Huddleston, who worked on the traffic and civil engineering of the project. So we all stand available for you with any questions. Thank you very much.
Any questions from council? None yet.
Thank you, sir.
I will open up the public comment portion of the hearing. I have one written request, and that's from Mr. John Horvath.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. John Horvath, 1004 Bradford Drive, Winter Park, Florida. Don't let the Winter Park, Florida fool you. That's the Seminole County part of the address of Winter Park, mailing address. I'm also was born and raised in the area, so I remember when this county had only 25,000 population, and I've watched it grow, and I watched all the hospitals grow. when Winter Park Hospital didn't exist, when Florida Hospital in Elmont didn't exist, and everybody's saying, oh, why do we need all these hospitals? But now we have 400-something thousand people in Seminole County, and your city is right at 4,000 in Winter Springs, and I know a lot of people that live in this area, and they've been waiting for years for this hospital, and I'm glad to see it coming to fruition. And also, they're planning ahead, because if you look at some of the other hospitals, it looks like it was Legoland where they built one. Hopefully, they plan it out for 250 beds and all the other facilities. And I don't think I'll be around to see that, but it will be nice, and I know it'll be a big factor for this area, and I'm glad to see it finally coming, because it's a long ways when somebody has an emergency and they have to either go to Altamont or Longwood or Winter Park, and these roads are very busy, and this will, I'm sure, save a lot of lives. And with the emergency room that's already been opened, I was talking to Chief earlier tonight, and I know that's been a very busy place since it's been open in 2 years. And when you see it go from 12 beds to 20 beds, you know they need to expand that because of just the growth. But as I said, having been born and raised here and seen all the changes, I'm glad to see this finally come into Oviedo, because this is a very large populated area out here that needs this kind of facility. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, John. That is the end of the written request. Is there anybody else who would like to address council on this item? Hearing none, we will close the public comment and move on to the pleasure of council.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Henkin.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 3029-15.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Councilman Henkin, you have the floor.
I was just going to make a few comments, but I think Mr. Horvat said exactly what I was going to say. Sitting up here all these years, for me, this day just couldn't come soon enough. I mean, there's been lots of important things we've all done up here, but today, in my view, this is the most important thing, because now we've assured not only the citizens of Oviedo, but all the residents of this community that, in a life-threatening emergency, now you don't have to drive like you used to, and that is a long drive when you're not feeling well. And the success of that emergency room since we did it, I mean, that was probably number 2 most important for me. But this really is just an unbelievable day. I can't wait to put that shovel in the ground. It really, for me, is a defining moment sitting up here, because there were so many times through the years where everybody could have just gave up. And Wendy and your staff to just hang there with us, and I'm glad that it was you guys in the end. We had a lot of other suitors, and just things just never quite felt as good, but this marriage is good, and I'm sure that will grow, and the lives that will be saved, as John just said, to me is the most important thing. So, best of luck. We'll be with you every step of the way, and this is a great day for us. Mayor.
Councilman Britton.
Just a couple questions. First one, I guess, Brian, maybe you can help me out with this, and I don't think it's a hard question, but reading the briefing, I don't see anything in here that shows that the applicant has asked for any kind of deviations or exceptions from our existing codes. Is that true?
Well, anytime you deal with a development agreement, rather than asking for deviations, you're establishing specific minimum standards. The height requirements are probably the biggest things that are different from our current code. The hospital requires more height than what we allow for 35 feet. And so that's probably the biggest one of all. I think maybe the signage has a little bit in it, but nothing significant on that.
It just struck me, it looks pretty clean as far as reading the briefing. The other question, maybe PJ, when are we going to break ground?
September 24th.
September 24th. That's not a football game night or anything, is it?
Thursday morning.
Okay, good. Thanks. That's all I got.
Football waits for this, though.
Let's see. Now, what would you do if it was football?
Well, the game will start in the morning, so I think we'll be okay.
All right, I'm just checking. Councilman Schenk?
I echo the comments of Councilman Henkin. I think you've got a nice plan, a great start with the ER, and a great addition. All the pictures of it look fantastic, and I think all that surrounds it and will be coming to Surround It will be integral and look very good, and again, help grow this community and make it safe, but complete the community and be a great integral part of it. That's it.
Do you have any experience with the hospital?
I have a little bit of
Okay,
experience
just
with the ER. Very happy experience.
Just checking. And they did find a heart, is that what they said?
That's what it was. They
All right.
found the heart, actually.
That was
They confirmed
They confirmed that.
for you. That was
For us, yes, exactly. We're still really not sure, but I'd like to see the x-rays one day. Well, yes, it has been a journey. That's all I can say. I remember back in 2000 when the state was telling us we didn't even need a hospital here in Oviedo. I mean, that was the first battle, never mind others leaving us at the altar twice, and HCA following through on all of their promises. And I've said this many times publicly. I know Wendy is just glad we're not in leadership anymore, and I'm running up to her every Friday asking her to build a hospital here in Oviedo. But so September 24th cannot come soon enough. Breaking ground on Oviedo ER was an exceptional amenity added to the community, and it's really proven its worth. I mean, Chief and all the fire chiefs in the area can't speak highly enough of the time it saves, the lives that have been saved, getting our guys just back in service instead of driving, halfway across town. So the residual effect of this over the years will be immeasurable. So thank you for making it happen. Now, PJ, what would a development agreement be if I didn't have sticky notes? Can you come on up for a second? Yeah, and don't worry about it, Wendy. This is normal. I have sticky notes on my development agreements. Albert can tell you that, and PJ knows. And I did ask him if he was ready for his presentation earlier. PJ, let's just go quick. I'm going to run through a couple of things I noticed.
Okay.
Some of them minor, some of them a couple of questions. Page 9, paragraph C at the top. B says that you're using LED lighting, and then C doesn't identify LED lighting. Are you putting LED lighting throughout the project?
LED lighting is to be used throughout the project. Yes, that's my
So the
understanding.
parking lots and all
Is
the...
LED lighting to be used, George?
All right. Could
That is the
we
intent.
clarify that before we just execute the agreement? PJ, page 12. Section 5. The mall access road
Yes.
took a lot of effort on the city's part to get a hold of that additional right-of-way that we needed. And it was something that was imperative that we take care of on our end in order to make the project work for HCA. What I'm a little uncomfortable with is we're asking for 2 years to build it with the issuance of the CO for Phase 1. Can you describe to me, what is Phase 1? Is Phase 1 just the hospital, or is Phase 1 the medical office buildings? And
Phase 1 will be the hospital and the first medical office building. And there was a discussion that there had to be a time certain put in here, so there at least was a outside benchmark by which the city could make sure that that this improvement was in fact going to be built. Now, as a part of the construction plans that are under review with the city right now, that roadway, if I may confirm, is a part of the construction plans that is part of your review staff has right now of the first phase of development. So that road, with the recording of this right-of-way, will be built concurrently with the hospital
all right,
as
so
a part of this first phase.
So then it will be built concurrently with the hospital, then you wouldn't mind changing the agreement to reflect that. My fear is this. Let me, if I may. Here's my only concern. Phase 1, the hospital comes up out of the ground. Medical office building doesn't lease out as quickly as we expect. Hopefully it'll come first. I think that's the plan I've seen. But something holds up Phase 1, and then Phase 1's not complete. So we can go on forever without having that connector road. And that connector road is extremely important to the viability of the project. What I'd like to do is tie that connector road to the hospital building itself, not anything else. So again, now, I don't need an answer necessarily
Okay.
this evening, but what I think is I'd like everybody to kind of powwow together.
Right.
We can always make a minor adjustment to the
Okay.
development agreement, if that's amenable to everybody.
I believe it is the hospital's intent to construct that roadway as a part of the initial construction of this project. Whether or not that will be done immediately upon having the hospital CO or the medical office CO at that time, we can discuss. I'd like to discuss that just to make sure that that timing is okay. I believe that 2-year timing can be shortened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's within, a 2-year time period of the hospital itself, because the medical office buildings become the wild card. There's supposed to be 2 medical office buildings in Phase 1. We only built 1. I want to tighten that certainty up.
Okay.
And building it with the hospital, ideally in my mind, and I don't want to speak for the rest of the members of council or for the staff, but that would ideally be best, just put the whole thing in at the same time. But I'll let you all discuss that.
Okay.
Couple of things in here about, if we acquire the right-of-way, obviously that's all been acquired already. Those things can almost be deleted. The traffic signal, I didn't see any mention of decel lanes.
The decel lanes, there is a paragraph within the development agreement which discusses access and access improvements that would be necessary, and that would be determined at each phase of development as it's brought in. The traffic impact would be analyzed and the access points would be analyzed to determine if decel lanes would be required and warranted. If they are, then they would be put in.
Okay. Obviously, 426, the amount of traffic that you're going to have with the hospital as compared to the ER is going to exponentially be greater. A decel lane on Mitchell Hammock may be a possibility because of the creek.
Right.
But certainly 426 and Oviedo Mall Boulevard, which is even more narrow than 426 or Mitchell Hammock Redbug, that might be an area that's going to need one. So again, if we can just work with staff on, tightening up what that all means. That would be on page 14 is where I saw it. Also, there's been a lot of talk about a full access point on 426, and I'm surprised we're not turning Slavia Point into that. We had discussed that once before, you and I.
Slavia Point into the full access point.
Yeah.
I think due to the
because that'll line you up with a full access right off of 426. So then you'll have your full access up at Oviedo Mall Boulevard. You'll have your full access at 426. You'll have your right in and right out down by Mitchell Hammock Redbug, and then right in, right out on Redbug.
I think that's something that I'm sure the hospital will want to be looking at in the future as a part of this first phase of construction due to some of our time constraints and obviously the coordination that would require with DOT to maintain that access. If we started to push traffic out on that, that would require much more analysis than is available to be done at this time. But I think that could be something that the hospital would be interested in looking at in the future.
Okay.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, on page 14, on sub-item number 9, we had mentioned, and this was to help accommodate for access and whatever improvements might be necessary to accommodate access, the developer shall bear the cost of all off-site roadway improvements to accommodate access to the project as determined, as permitted by the city and DOT. So that would include the analysis of turn lanes and such as the city would see fit.
Okay. Page 16. There's talk about irrigation. Now, we do not have reuse water on that side of town, but when we do, we would like to see everybody hook up to it. Right now what you're saying in here is since we don't, we're going to sink a well and, that's what we're going to use forever and ever.
Right. It's at this point, since it's unknown as to when and if there's going to be reuse put out on that side of town, then the investment that would be made in order to irrigate and to put in the infrastructure for this would be substantial. And so depending upon if the reclaim is extended out this way, I think that would be an analysis that the hospital would have to do at that time to determine that if it's beneficial for them to hook up.
Well, my point is what this is reading in the very last line is a reuse water system will not be required at any time after reuse water is made available unless requested by the developer.
Right.
You know,
Right.
if we have you guys using a well, taking water out of the ground, you know, that could create complications for us later on. I'd like to strike that line. And again, you can have an internal discussion.
Okay.
And the last one, just to avoid issues, because this issue will come up. It comes up every time. Page 17, H, solid waste. The developer shall screen solid waste containers and compactor with a 6-foot-high screen. The problem you run into is that when you're using the compactors, they're taller than 6 foot high. And we ran into this problem with 2 different complexes that were built. If we can change that line to say that the screen will be 1 foot taller than the equipment,
Okay.
it'll just avoid issues because, you know, staff will go out there, you'll put your compactor in, then you'll have to go redesign your screen. And we've had that come into our council chambers twice now.
Okay.
That wasn't so bad, PJ.
All right, very good.
That's all I got. So if you guys can consider all that, as I said, most pressing in my mind out of all those issues is that access road.
Okay.
You know, getting that connected up to Oviedo Mall Boulevard sooner, you know, rather than later. It was I don't want to say it was a challenge with the property owner, but, you know, we
I
had
know
to.
there's quite a bit of work to be done.
Yeah.
That was done, yes.
City staff jumped through hoops to get that done, to make sure it was part of the proffer agreement that we offered the hospital. So in return, let's see if we can get it built.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. And like I said, this is all minor stuff in a document that's going to live longer than all of us. So, and having the hospital here, as everybody has said, is going to be an exceptional attribute to our community. Are there any other questions from council?
No, sir.
No? You don't want to beat anything else up? You didn't find anything else in there that I didn't?
I saw your tab, so I just said let you go, and if there's anything else,
I haven't tabbed up something like that.
we haven't done tabs like that in a while. That's why when I saw it, I said,
I knew Wendy was coming. All righty. Anything else, guys? All right. Motion on the table is to adopt resolution number 3029-15. All in favor of that motion with the items that were discussed this evening. So we need to amend that motion a little bit. Seconder and motioner agree?
Agreed.
Who made the motion? Who made the second?
I second.
All righty. So the items I brought up,
Yes.
we'll let them go back and discuss them and whatever they decide to do. Okay. With those items being said, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I think that might have been 3-1. I think Shank voted against it. 4-0. Thank you, guys. Discussion items, we have none. City Manager's report. Mr. Cobb.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one small thing for you tonight.
Now, we were gone all weekend. How can you have any small things for us? The
One
proper
small.
response would have been, I have no report.
I know, I would love to have said that, but I have good news.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just wanted to share with you. At this time of year, we annually get a letter from the University of Florida Bureau of Economic and Business Research regarding our annual population estimate.
oh, do we grow again?
Happy to report as of April 1st, 2015, our population is estimated to be 36,819. Just to give you an idea, that is a growth in population of 568 over the 2014 estimate of 36,251. It is also a growth of 3,477 population over our 2010 estimate of 33,342. What's significant about this is last year, this letter gives us the opportunity to contest the estimate. Last year, they estimated us around 35,500, and we contested it and proved. And this year, it validated all the work that our staff did last year regarding the population estimate. So just wanted to give you that good news that we once again are on positive growth.
We overtake Altamont yet?
No, sir, we've still got a ways to go on that.
I want that seat on Metroplan. And based on that, Brian, it really sounds like you guys need 85 beds now, so we're going to have to grow some more. Mr. Cobb, anything else?
That is it.
Mr. Colbert, we had the pleasure of seeing you this weekend. How did your talk with the Florida League go?
Everything went very well. We got some things accomplished legislatively, and it was good to be there and good to see you folks there.
Shared your wisdom.
Tried to.
Anything else for us, Mr. Colbert?
Not this evening, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I say it every time you come down, since what, 1969, right? 68, something like that?
I started in 1971 coming out here, so
Amazing.
it's been a little while. I
Now,
had
did
more
you
hair
ever,
then.
you ever think there'd be a hospital in this city back in 1971? I mean, there weren't even paved roads, really.
Well, there were not a lot of paved roads and not a lot of people out here. I think the population then was about between 25 and 2,600. But I can tell you that it's been the desire of every council I've worked with to have a hospital here, and to see that come to fruition and see it be HCA, who I admire and respect. I'm glad I was here tonight. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here also. Councilman Britton, you have anything for us?
Real short, just that we had a good time at the Florida League of Cities, and I forgot to bring my package of the from the business meeting of the proposed
what a shame.
legislative agenda. It's got some one-paragraph statements from each of the committees, some of which are pretty significant issues. So I'll get that to Barbara and get it distributed. The big one, I think, is the Utility Relocation Act. That has me worried, and then some other minor things. But I'll get that out to you.
Great.
And just an announcement, I don't think we're going to meet again until we have our CalNO meeting on September 2nd. Barbara, is that right? September 2nd, I think it is. First Wednesday of September. And it will be at the amphitheater at the Cultural Arts Center.
Oh, it'll be here.
So it'll be a good meeting for us.
Are we allowed to come and have dinner with you?
Sure.
September 6:30?
But you got to stay for the whole meeting.
I'll let John stay. 6 or 6:30?
Meeting's at 6.
All righty. Moving along to myself, for the sake of time, I will have no report tonight. Councilman Schenk?
I just thanked Drew and Helpful Hands for the concert. It got rained out, and our man on the safety issue, Lars, for, making sure everybody was safe and sound and having everything taken care of early enough that people were able to get out, get home and stay safe. We've got another upcoming concert on the 30th, so put that in your, hopefully we'll have great weather and everything will roll well. That's it.
August 30th?
Is it August 30th?
December 3rd.
September 3rd, sorry. September 3rd.
Councilman Hankin?
Mr. Colbert, you just jogged my memory, how fitting it is that you are here tonight when we approved this hospital, because I know of the long relationship you had with them, and, we love Lonnie like family, but, Wendy, having Bill here tonight just told you that you're going to have a lot of success and good luck there. So, Bill, I'm glad you were here tonight. That was a long time and a historic meeting, so I just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yep, and as Councilman Schenk was saying, you're all invited September 3rd, September 18th. We have two pretty amazing concerts out at Oviedo on the Park, so if you would like to come, just dial the number, put your name, come out. The one we had before the rain came was really good, so we're not going to allow any rain for those things. Chief will make sure of it. So come out and see a couple of good shows. But again, congratulations, Wendy. It's a good night for everybody. PJ and your team, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I had and I forgot.
Go ahead.
Totally forgot, but I want to congratulate you and Mr. Hankin on your re-election.
Thank you.
Job well done, and looking forward to working with you for many more years.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Anything else from the council? Now, Mr. Colbert, you used to be a member of their board, weren't you? Or are you still?
I was a member of the Board of Trustees for, I believe it was 6 years, and was on the board when Ms. Brandon was hired to come, and that, I think, was a good day for the board and a good day for the hospital.
Oh, that is terrific. I had to mention that just because of your involvement, not only with Oviedo, but with the whole entire community. I mean, Mr. Colbert, folks don't realize how involved you are, so we really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Future meeting dates. We have this Thursday, August 20, 5:30 p.m. We have a budget session, budget and LDC, excuse me. Thursday, September 10th. Just mark that because that's a change. That'll be our budget meeting regular session. Then we have Monday, September 21st, budget meeting regular session. Thursday, September 24th, 6:30 p.m., LDC work session. With all of that being said, is there any other business before us? Staff? Anyone? Barbara? Anything else for us? Nope. Meeting's adjourned.
PJ can dance.